let's begin with our first experience of the day. I invite to talk with us our dear Paul Cripps from Amazonas Explorer, Peru. The theme of his talk is how COVID changed my company and how we are digging ourselves out of the massive hole it has left us in to hopefully create a beautiful, sustainable, and genuinely regenerative travel company. So please, Paul, the microphone is yours.
Hello, everyone. Lovely to see you again. I don't know why I'm quite so nervous. I've been doing these shows for ages, but I'll keep going. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see that.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so lovely to see you all again, and thanks for coming and turning out. Thank you guys from remote. You really are doing a great job of keeping us all together in our remote places. So yeah, my name's Paul Cripps. I'm the owner of Amazonas Explorer, and Marcel has asked me to tell you a little bit of different stuff about us. So I thought, why not? Let's start with a little bit of history. We regularly get asked, oh, are you that boat that goes down the Amazon? And the answer is no, we're not. That's another company with a remarkably similar name. But we were once a boat company in the Amazon. In fact, we started our company in Iquitos, and you can see there, this is the very first brochure, 1982. And we were the first and probably the only company to offer water skiing tours on the Amazon. As you can probably guess, it wasn't the best of business plans. It was a lot of fun, but we pretty quickly realized that there was more to Peru than water skiing in Iquitos. And we moved up to Cusco and we set up a company, and I haven't done brochures for years now, but this was the last brochure you can see probably in about 2010. And clearly there's a picture of Machu Picchu. And we do all that stuff, canoeing, trekking, rafting, biking, and cultural expeditions in Peru. And we've kind of given up on Bolivia because it's just too complicated. So we're specialists on Peru, and that's what we do, and that's what we love doing. So yeah, we haven't changed our name, and we think we're pretty good at it because we've been going long enough. A little bit of random news. It was 1998. We got joined by a business partner, the owner of Grupo Inca. If you haven't heard of Grupo Inca, it's an interesting company, and the reason why we joined up with them was partly to give us a lot of support with the whole financial side, the whole legal side of running a company in Peru, and also because it gave me the chance to become a partner in the Colca Lodge. And you've probably seen me at these travel shows alongside my good friend and the general manager of the Colca Lodge, Renzo Morante. Renzo sends his wishes. He can't be here today. He just wanted to let you know the Colca Lodge is open. We were closed for about 9 months, but now we're open and we're up to about 40% capacity. We took the decision very early on not to get rid of our staff, which is a lot of hotels basically binned a lot of their staff. We kept as many staff on as we could, and we took this opportunity to have an empty hotel, and we built, using all the staff from receptionists to cooks to gardeners, we built a private villa in the grounds of the Colca Lodge, and it's now available, and we now have 2 private houses that you can rent. So if you've got a private family or someone looking for a very special occasion, check that out. The hot springs are back open running. We have a set time so that to avoid too many people going there. And yeah, Colca Canyon is up and running. So that's how I got into the Colca Lodge. Oops, go back one. Here's a fairly random bit of history I discovered about the company I kind of forgot about. That yeah, we very nearly gave up on tourism in about the early 2000s. And we were looking around for things to do, and we harked upon this idea of basically doing team building for the Grupo Inca and the various companies. And Francois thought that was a good plan, and he put us in contact with various friends of his in Lima. And all of a sudden, by default and somewhat accidentally, we became the largest and the only team building company in Peru. And we had the Banco Credito as one of our clients. We had some of the biggest mines as some of our clients, and we were literally printing money. It was incredibly hard work, but good fun. And we thought, well, this is a lot easier than tourism. Why don't we do this? But to be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. So I ended up, and this is maybe not the best decision that I made in my business, and I gave the Team Spirit business to Stefan Zumstig, who was the partner, and I and Francois, we continued on in tourism. Am I regretting that now? Yeah, maybe. But let's keep going. Let's move forward to 2007. And I had a bit of awakening. I went and had a few bottles of wine with a good friend of mine called Andy Middleton. He runs this incredible outdoor centre in West Wales called Tir y Felin. And he's now actually a consultant to the Welsh Government on climate change. And he said, Paul, you need to read this book. And it's called Plan B2, Rescuing a Planet Under Stress in a Civilization in Trouble. It's by Lester Brown. It's a little bit out of date, but it's still good. I read it the other day and I thought this is really interesting. And basically it was saying, we've got a problem with the planet. In order to solve climate change and create a sustainable planet, this guy worked out it would cost 1% of the GDP of the whole world to do it. I don't know, I'm not a big numbers person, but I thought that sounds pretty cool. And out of that came this thing called 1% for the planet. And we joined up to join 1% of the planet. And get this, the concept behind 1% of the planet is that we as a company commit to donate 1% of our turnover every year towards sustainable projects. And that's turnover, not profit. My business partner practically kicked me out of the room when I suggested it, but we stuck with it. And so, yeah, every year we donate 1% of our turnover. We plant trees and we love planting trees. The first year we planted 7,000 trees. We were like, wow, this is amazing. And we work with these lovely local communities up in the high Andes in the Laris Valley. And the whole community comes together and plants the trees. And as we got bigger, we started involving more people. Move forward now to 2014, and we've got the climate change talks actually in Lima. And I said to the guys, how are we going to get ourselves on the newspapers on the day the climate change talks? I want, what's his name? The president of the United States at the time, I can't remember who it was. I want him to read what we're doing. And so we set the challenge and said, why don't we try and plant 50,000 trees in a day? And the next thing I know, there we were. And we actually planted 58,000 trees in one day. We had 1,200 people up the mountains. It was the balmiest weather. I don't know if you can see all these dots of people planting trees. And we created this thing called Konya Raimi. You've probably heard of the Inti Raimi, which is the famous festival on the 24th of June, which is basically tourist twaddle for people who want to see people dancing around and celebrating the sun. This is Konya Raimi. It's the festival of the Konya tree. And it's gone on and got its own life pretty much. And just to give you an idea how far we've taken it, last year in the middle of the pandemic, Ecoan, who's the NGO, they managed to plant 385,000 trees. And that was despite all of them getting COVID at one stage, which was pretty impressive. And they've set the modest target of 500,000 this year. So it's an incredible project and we're totally buying into that. But what I wanted to do was take the company a next stage further. And I decided to try and take the company carbon neutral. And it's very difficult to work out how many trees you've planted and whether that's going to be enough or not. So we worked with another company and we ended up investing in a sink in the Manu National Park. And we work with the Comunidad de Chipatiari, which is down in Manu National Park. And it's an incredible project, and we worked out all our carbon emissions, and now we offset them there, and we continue to do so today, even though our emissions are considerably less at the moment. What I also did was, in fact, 2020 was the year we took the company carbon positive, and that basically I said we're going to plant 2 trees per person per day. And the cost of that, the cost of carbon neutralizing your tours and carbon positive of your tours is $4 per person per day. And if you can't afford that, you probably don't want to be working with me. What I then started looking for was a certification that basically encompassed what we meant as a company. I looked at Rainforest Alliance, that's too easy, I don't believe in it. I looked at various ISO certifications. Eventually I settled on this thing called B Corp, and if you've not heard of it, Google, it's really interesting. You may have heard of, in Latin America, it's called Sistema B, and basically it's a way of running your company where you put the people and the planet before profit. And that's basically what we do. And we started working on the sustainable goals. We decided to choose some fairly random ones. We chose gender equality, and we did the very first gender equality workshop in Peru, in Cusco. And to be honest, it went down really badly with our largely male Catholic staff, but hey, it was a start, and so we're doing that. So we thought we were doing pretty well. So move forward to, and I've done this slide particularly small because to see if anyone's actually watching, have a look at that red number there. This is the amount of business we lost in 2020 thanks to COVID. we basically managed to run 1.7% of our usual business. Our number of trips were down 95%. When Marcelo said, put a project together, do tell something where things went wrong. It can't go much more wrong than that. And we were like, how are we going to deal with this? My first thought was to my community. People talk about communities in the little communities in the mountains. This is my community. This is my team in my garden. 18 full-time staff, all geared up, ready to run a season. Yes, we've had to let a few go. We've literally not pumped up a raft for 16 months. We've not cleaned a bicycle. They're all sitting there waiting to come back, but we had to reduce, but my goal was to try and make sure as a B Corp that the people who work with me are protected. Very quickly on, I was sitting in an office in Cusco, completely empty, and we tried to work out how to run a company as you know, remotely as possible. And I was literally taking bicycles and putting computers in people's houses. We got a call from a project we worked with called Azul Wasi, and it's an orphanage with 32 orphans aged 8 to 16 who were now attempting to do school online with one laptop. So I called them up. I said, come down the office, help yourself to some computers. You can give them back to me in a couple of months. That was 16 months ago. I got a feeling we're not going to see them again, but hey, it felt good. And I hope they're learning something. About that time, I took a very difficult decision. And basically my family was scattered around the world. Half were in the UK, half of us were in Peru. And we flew back to the UK again for a couple of months. Funnily enough, I'm still here in the UK enjoying my second summer, and that's me with my sons on the very last flight out of Cusco. Just before I got on that plane, the phone rang, and I picked it up because I was the only one in the office, and it was one of our muleteers from Laris, and he said, Jefe, he said, ¿Dónde están los turistas? Where are the tourists? ¿Y cuándo regresan? And when are they coming back? And I just didn't know what to say. So as soon as I got back, I thought, we've got to help these guys. And we set up this this project to help the porters. And by May, we were feeding 55 families once a month with a food parcel. Moving on, we then got into all the remote travel shows. And yeah, as I say, remote, you did a great job in keeping us together. But I was trying to hang on to my community. So the guides who'd been sitting around waiting for the season to take off, come September, we realized we weren't going to have a season. So I proposed to them, come up with micro projects. Let's see what we can do. We'll raise some money for you. So we helped Omar set up a bakery. We helped Ephraim set up a compost farm. We helped Ruben set up a market store. We've got some guys delivering eggs on their mountain bikes. All lots of little micro projects to help them go. And even come the end of the year, I suddenly realized I've got to donate 1% of my turnover. 1% of nothing is nothing. So I want to plant some more trees. So I basically set up another GoFundMe. We raised enough to plant about 2,000 trees, which is a start. And I feel good that we could at least keep doing what we're trying to do. What I love about the ingenuity of Peru, this is a piece of land we've got out in on Lake Waipo, and some of the office said, can we use a bit of your land, because we're thinking of doing something. And this is the Amazonas Explorer potato crop, and we basically dug up our land and planted potatoes, and so we've got things to eat. It's pretty grim in Peru at the moment, and so all these little things that we can do has kept us going. At the end of the year, we literally ran out of money for the porters, and I was like, I haven't got any more friends I can screw any more money out of. And I contacted the Lata Foundation, and they were great. And they helped to set up this thing called 25 for 25. It was walk 25 miles of the Inca Trail, raise £25 to pay for a porter parcel. And as you can see, it went ballistic. We raised £15,000, and we're now actually feeding 92 families once a month. And we're just keeping them going. And the feedback we're getting is amazing. And here's just a couple of photos of, I just thought you'd like to see people who are desperate. And once a month we can give them some joy, and we can bring them some food. And for any of you who are out there who actually participated and helped, thank you so much, because it's such a good project, and it means we can keep going, because it's not over in Peru at all. Let's talk about a bit of good news. I mean, this is a very random figure that I've pulled out. If I can run 10% of my business from 2019, it will be 450% up on last year. So that's good, isn't it? I'm not very good at numbers, as you can tell, but we are hopefully reopening. Machu Picchu is open, and we had our first tourists there. The guy WhatsApped me, he said, Jefe, take a look at this picture. There were 18 people in Machu Picchu. The Inca Trail opened last week, and it's half, it's 50% capacity. You can now walk the Inca Trail and literally see no one. I would have to say COVID-19 successfully got rid of all over-tourism in Peru. It wasn't the nicest way of doing it, but hey, it worked. So you can get to these places and see no one. We ran our very first trek to Choqui Corral and we saw no one for 7 days. This is actually Palcoya, which is the quieter of the Rainbow Mountains, and that's the guide. There was no one else there. Our basin, we're still growing potatoes, but our base has also, we got the paddleboards out. What a better way to do a socially distanced tour than go for a paddleboard on the lake. I don't know if you noticed, Cusco's just had 2 days of just mental transport strikes. Just before COVID hit, we invested $50,000 in a brand new fleet of e-bikes. What I did, we had 3 groups in town. I just basically packed them in vehicles, drove them to the Sacred Valley and gave them an e-bike each. And they just went and explored the Sacred Valley, and it was fantastic. And we were about the only company that actually managed to operate some trips in the last 2 days because we've got these incredible things called e-bikes. We ran our first rafting trip. It was the Cotahuasi, which is the world's deepest canyon, and we've just opened the road down to the Apurimac. We're about to go up to Pomacanchis Lake and then on to Huacrapucara trekking. We really are beginning to open up, and what we do is these sort of specialist adventure trips, which is what I think people are looking for. I just want to throw this in because when Bill Gates says, I think COVID is quite easy to solve compared with the climate change, you need to stand up and listen to that. And so last year I signed up for the thing called Tourism Declares a Climate Emergency. And I've committed to basically reduce my carbon emissions by 35% by 2030 and carbon zero by 2050. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm kind of thinking if we can get through COVID, I'm pretty sure we can sort that one out as well. So I'm working on that. And that's pretty much all you've got time for today. I'm Paul. I'm really missing my dog and my stand-up paddleboarding. And I think that is just about it. I'm just going to show you a couple of photos of where I'd rather be, other than, of course, with you lovely people. I'd rather be down the Apurimac Canyon or on Lake Pomacanchis or just sitting around a campfire. That's it from me. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.
It was great, Paul. I love hearing, like people say, what's the definition of success is not stop trying. And I see like you get yourself into a lot of things, and this is great. I wanted to ask you something about those mini projects that you asked your people to think about, like the bakery and things like that. I know tourism has just started to pick up again, but do you see any of those projects like moving on to like be a more constant thing other than just a patch?
So what I talked to my guides, and I said, look, honestly, I think we need to look at tourism as a supplementary income to a real job. And that's what we're doing. We're basically saying, if tourism doesn't ever come back up, you've got something to fall back on, whether it's a market stall or organic vegetables. But every single one of my guides, if I give them a call and say, do you want a guide? They will drop everything and come back. So that is good news. I don't think any of them have decided that baking is an easier life than guiding.
That's great. Marcelo, let's move on then.
Yes, Paul, just before we move on, all these initiatives you've been doing makes me feel I can do much more that I'm doing for my community. So thanks for sharing this and congratulations. That was very inspiring, and not to mention the pictures, especially in my case, the rafting. Where is it, this rafting, this canyon?
That's the Apurimac Canyon, the Granite Canyon. It's the source of the Amazon. It's the longest tributary. It's a 1 to 4 day trip. It is absolutely brilliant, and there is no one down there at the moment. Yeah, if you want to come, Marcelo, just let us know, and I'll take you down there and show you an amazing trip.
I'll definitely try to find some spot in my agenda to be there. That would be great. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much.